Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Manjari Nadkarni. Today, we are live from my home office. So, today's topic of discussion, I'm just trying to adjust for Instagram. So, today's topic for discussion is protein. And protein, while it's consumed by most people, uh, because there is a lot of information on protein. People are confused as to what kind of protein should you be eating. And that's exactly what we are going to discuss today. So, for today's Wellness Wednesday, I have a few pointers. The first thing we are going to discuss is the five signs the protein you eat is not working for you. Then we are going to talk about animal based protein as well as food combining for complete plant based proteins. We will also be talking about the complete proteins that are vegan or vegetarian in nature, right? So, first comes first, protein extremely important for the body. It's important for your healthy a diet and lifestyle. You require protein to repair your body. You require protein for your muscles, your bones, your skin, hair, and every cell of the body will require amino acids. And whether we are talking about your hormones, whether we talk about your neurotransmitters, whether we talk about things that keep you emotionally stable, those are your neurotransmitters that have your neurology functioning well, you are going to require protein for it, right? So there are a few ways, that that you're not getting enough protein, or the protein that you're eating is not enough for you. Number one sign is you crave proteins, right? So some people will experience that, oh, I just need a steak, I really crave like a steak or some chicken, or I really crave a lentil soup, if you're a vegan. So the protein craving is the number one sign that you are not getting enough protein. The second sign is constant hunger. If you are constantly hungry, you never feel satisfied after a meal, signs are that your diet is not rich in protein, and that is why you're constantly hungry. Protein is going to satiate you, right? If you're getting enough amounts of protein, that will satiate you, and that will stop the hunger cues, because of the satiety. So if you're constantly hungry, you've eaten a meal and you're hungry in like the next 10 minutes or an hour, you are not getting enough protein, or whatever protein you're eating is not working for you, right? The third one is muscle loss. So how does one know that they have muscle loss? So if you start experiencing weakness, if you start experiencing fatigue, if you're exhausted all the time, you're just tired, exhausted, and your diet is a mess, this is a sign that you are not getting enough protein. Now, the if you have a muscle mass, good amounts of muscle mass, you will have good physical strength in the body, right? So if you are not having enough protein, or if you're eating the protein that is not working for you, you will be tired, you will lose muscle mass. And in my clinic, I can do the body composition report, where I often find that women who are having eggs in the morning, or they have chicken, or tuna for lunch, and then some kind of red meat for dinner, they're really deficient in the protein or muscle mass, right? So one thing you have to understand is it's not just about what you're eating, but it is also about, is the protein that you eat working for you? If you're eating protein bars or shakes, and if you're not being able to assimilate them because of some kind of sensitivities or uh, digestive issues, it's not going to work for you. And even though you're consuming, you will still see signs of deficiencies, right? The fourth one is hair, skin, nail issues. So if you're experiencing a lot of hair fall, if you're experiencing, nails that are extremely brittle, or if you're experiencing your skin that sags easily or is getting wrinkled easily, or just doesn't have a nice, texture, you are probably deficient in protein, right? Or you're not eating the exact protein that your body requires. So that is the fourth sign. And the fifth one is immune issues. If you are constantly battling colds and coughs, and every flu that goes on, you catch that you've had covid and then you had something else. So if your immune system is constantly engaged, in fighting something because it's not strong enough. There are so many attacks by bacteria, viruses, everything happening. You are not having enough protein, or the protein that you eat is not working for you, right? Now, when we look at protein, so Wendy is asking a really good question, like Hashimoto's protein recommendations. So perfect answer. Whenever we look at thyroid issues, whenever we look at autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's, again, it is extremely important for you to have protein that is digestible, that is compatible. So whenever we look at autoimmune conditions, Wendy, one of the first things I would say is, dairy based protein is highly allergenic, so I would take that out. So number one thing I would do is, if you are relying on whey protein or casein, I would take that out of your diet. Fish, chicken, if you're a non-vegetarian, that becomes a really good one. Soy, again, I'm not a big fan of soy when it comes to thyroid related issues, so I would avoid tofu, tempeh when it comes to any kind of thyroid related issues. And you could go for beans and legumes, so that would be another option. So that's the answer for you in a gist, right? So going back to animal proteins are known as complete proteins. We have 20 different amino acids, of which 11 are produced by the body, and the other 9 you cannot produce in your body. So you have to get it via food, right? So if you don't get these via food, that becomes a problem. And these 9 amino acids are called essential, the other ones are non essential, right? So the essential acids, because I'm not producing it, I need my food to be able to give me that. So whenever we talk about animal protein, whenever they are complete sources of protein, they're going to have all of these 9 essential amino acids in a single protein form, right? Or in a single, like your eggs or chicken or fish is going to have all 9 in itself. So you don't have to combine it with something else, right? So now when it comes to animal proteins, eggs can often be allergenic. So again, here is where it starts getting a little bit tricky, because you could have sensitivities, and again, sensitivities are caused by an impaired gut function. So if your digestion is not doing the best, you may have sensitivities to digesting certain proteins as well. So eggs can be allergenic, whey protein or casein can be allergenic, and that is something that I do see a lot in my practice when I do muscle testing for food sensitivities. It's typically the casein in the milk or the whey that most people are allergenic, but you can also be sensitive to animal proteins like beef or chicken or fish as well, right? Not just shellfish but regular fish as well. You could be sensitive to anything on the planet, like that's the truth. So it's always good to get tested, and if you are having any digestive issues, bloating, constipation, skin related issues, it's always good to get tested for any kind of sensitivities. If you're based in Sarnia, I do offer muscle testing. If you are not based in Sarnia, we can have a virtual consult and we can decide, via food logs, I can help you figure out what's the protein that you're reacting to, right? So animal protein, again, number one thing, look for digestibility. And some of the easy, not a lot reactive proteins are poultry, so chicken, turkey, um, any other birds that you consume, that could be one option. Eggs can be allergenic if you are already having immune issues, so that is to be avoided. But pork is very heavy, so not the best source of protein. Beef, red meat, if you can use it, if you can consume it, if you can digest it, for sure. Otherwise, goat will work as a better alternative when it comes to meat proteins, right? Now, going back to plant based proteins, plant-based proteins are not just important from a vegan or a vegetarian standpoint, but there are studies that when we are looking at our insulin response, insulin is the fat storing hormone. It's the hormone that helps balance blood sugar. It's the hormone that will open the gateways of your cells and push the glucose inside the cells, right? So when we look at insulin, right, animal protein is not the best choice. So there are studies done that, if you are trying to manage your insulin, if you are trying to avoid, prevent type 2 diabetes, which is preventable, plant-based protein has seen to be a lot more beneficial because of the fiber component, and it's also rich in different kinds of foods, right? Or sorry, chemicals or plant chemicals, phytochemicals. So another good option is, when we talk about phytic acid, which is present in legumes and beans, and phytic acid is something that is not going to make you absorb a lot of calcium and stuff, but in your body, phytic acid can form something called inositol, which is also important for cellular regulation. When we talk about regulation of neurotransmitters, when we talk about regulation of, insulin as such, right? This inositol is important, and it can be formed from phytic acid that you get in beans and legumes, right? So beans and legumes are going to be a good form of protein, even though they will have some component of carb to it, right? So Dr. Rajan, namaskar. So Dr. Rajan says that in India, I have come across many cases of infertility too high due to English broiler chicken. My observation, yeah, and a lot of the times, like these animal proteins are pumped with additional hormones, right? So to make them grow faster. So that is where a lot of the problem comes from when we talk about infertility in relation to animal meat consumption. That is definitely a huge part of it. Now let's look at plant based proteins that are complete proteins that have all the 9 essential amino acids. We are looking at quinoa, we are looking at buckwheat or kasha, hemp seeds, blue green algae or algae, and soybeans, right? So all of these five have all the essential amino acids, and they can serve as a good option for plant based protein. Now, soy, if you have any kind of thyroid related issues, just be cautious. Do not consume a lot of soy, because soy isoflavones have been known to be goitrogenic. They will inhibit the synthesis of thyroid hormones, and they will create a lowered thyroid function, leading to hypothyroidism, right? Now if you are looking for plant based proteins, nuts and seeds, almonds, peanuts are also sources of protein. Whole grains like rice, brown rice is going to have some protein. Beans, legumes have lots of proteins. And if you're looking at chickpeas, for example, or lentils, moth beans, mung beans, have good sources of protein. And you can also combine them with certain kind of seeds like pumpkin seeds, right? So they will form the complete protein. So nuts and seeds, you can combine them with whole grains, you can combine them with beans. Traditionally in India, we have dal rice, which is lentils with rice, which forms the complete protein. In Mexico, you can see beans and corn that form a complete protein. And additionally, you can have beans with nuts or seeds that will have a complete protein, right? Now plant based protein is definitely being studied for a lot more of its benefits. When we come to talking about something like mung beans also have a phytoestrogenic effect that are going to protect your phytoestrogens or support your estrogen function in the body. And any of the bad estrogens, it's going to help get rid of the body as well, due to its good fiber content, right? So that is where you have to decide which kind of protein, and this is what helps you make the decision. So now the question is, what exactly is the kind of protein I should be eating? So, number one is decide whether you want to go for a vegetarian protein or a non vegetarian protein. If you are an athlete, if you are somebody who's into bodybuilding, you know, animal protein is better suited. If you are somebody who's doing regular workouts, lifting weights, you are breaking the muscle down, and bioavailability of animal protein is higher than that of plant based protein. So that could be your number one choice, having like poultry or eggs in moderation. um, any kind of animal proteins is going to be good. If you are struggling with something like an autoimmune condition, right? So if you are struggling with autoimmune issues, avoid allergenic kind of proteins. Peanuts are extremely allergenic. Eggs can be pretty allergenic, dairy proteins can be allergenic, and soy can be allergenic in a lot of people. So those are the four kinds of protein that have to be avoided. And if you are a vegetarian, definitely you can have good amounts of clean protein even from a vegetarian diet. But if you are opting for something like tofu, right, which I also see a lot of people eating tofu, and when I do a pulse reading, I will see that they have a lot of heaviness in the body, and the pulse is also extremely heavy. So marinating the tofu, eating the tofu in moderation is important. Tempeh being fermented is better digestible when it comes to a vegetarian protein, right? So these are a few options. Now, as an adult, you require about zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kg of body weight. So that's kind of the standard, or 0.36 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So typically for a 200-pound person, we're looking at an average of 72 grams, but this is going to differ from person to person, right? Now, when we start aging, after the age of 30, you are actually going to see a lot of muscle loss unless you are working out, unless you are doing some kind of specific activities that will help you put the muscle back on the body, right? So if you are doing weight training, if you're doing body weight exercises, that is the best way to be able to gain some muscle back, or utilize the muscle, because if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And in such a situation, easily digestible protein is extremely important, right? So rather than opting for something that is heavy to digest, an example, going back to the animal proteins, fish is an easier digestible protein if you're comparing with something like beef or pork. So that should be a good option for you. When we look at additional protein supplements, always get something like a brown rice protein or a pea protein, which is going to be better digestible than the other kinds of protein, right? And hemp seeds, you can definitely add it to your diet. You can sprinkle it on your food, or pumpkin seeds, you can add it to your food. But something like peanut butter, again, not the best option when it comes to having your daily dose of protein. So if you have any questions regarding today's video, feel free to post it in the comment section. And if you have any other topics that you would like me to talk about, you can post them in the comment section as well. I am trying to keep the Wellness Wednesdays a little bit shorter. So thank you for watching this. If you know someone who is really struggling to get their protein in, please feel free to forward this video to them. You can privately share this video with them or tag them under here. So Dr. Rajan is asking my opinion about ghee. Ghee is fantastic. It is a fat which does not have any kind of animal proteins. That is why it is not allergenic. And in Ayurveda, like, ghee is supposed to be the best. Again, cow ghee is what we are talking about, ideally from A2 cows. And it has to be cultured. So a lot of the times, in the West, when the ghee is made, it is not made in the proper way, right? But ghee is a fat that's good for your eyes, good for your brain, good for your every cell of the body. It also has CLA, which will prevent you from gaining excess weight. I can go talking on and on about ghee, but because that's not what the subject of today, I will save that for another day. Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you so much. So, thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic day. And another thing I just wanted to say is, I am hosting a reset. My autumn resets have been since I think 2020. And the autumn resets are extremely special to me because, it's a private group that we will do the reset in. I have about 20 people usually signed up for the reset. I am sharing the link here. So, what we do in the reset is 7 days we will meet in a private Facebook group, and I will be sending you the recipes ahead of time. And it is a whole foods reset based on the Ayurvedic principles. Autumn, we look at it as a season where, pitta as well as vata are getting aggravated, right? If you see the environment, the brilliant red colors signify pitta, all the dryness, coldness, signifies vata aggravation. So to help our body transition healthily into the autumn season, I'm hosting a reset. And this is a whole foods reset. You're not supposed to take any other supplements. You get all the recipes, you get me twice every single day talking about what to expect from the reset, and to answer any questions that you have. So I log on in the morning, also in the evening, to answer your questions. And we have a wonderful community. Every year, I think the community aspect of the reset is something that's very special to me. So I have posted the link here. If you have questions, let me know. And if you would love to join it, I would love to see you there. So please check out the reset. And I will see you soon next week for another Wellness Wednesday. Till then, stay healthy and happy. Have a fantastic